We are all familiar with the image, the legions of Rome, a tide of crimson sweeping across the ancient world. Robust soldiers, clad in vibrant red tunics, their standards snapping the wind, conquering vast empires. But how accurate is this iconic depiction? Why do we imagine Roman soldiers marching to battle in a sea of scarlet? This seemingly innocuous detail, the color of their uniforms, reveals a fascinating story of historical misconception and the power of popular imagination. The problem lies in the pervasive and persistent portrayal of Roman soldiers in bright red. From Hollywood epics to popular video games, the image of the red-clad legionary is ubiquitous. This visual shorthand has permeated our collective consciousness, solidifying beliefs so deeply ingrained that it's rarely questioned. Yet, historical evidence paints a far more nuanced and less colorful picture. The notion of the red Roman soldier likely emerged not from meticulous archaeological findings, but from a confluence of artistic license and later interpretations. Early artistic representations of Roman military life, particularly those from the Renaissance and beyond, often depicted soldiers in vibrant hues, a reflection of the artistic sensibilities of the time, not necessarily of Roman reality. Artists, influenced by contemporary military traditions and perhaps a desire for dramatic effect, often favored bold colors, including red, to represent Roman legions. This stylistic choice, repeated across countless works of art, gradually solidified the association in the public mind. Furthermore, the limited surviving evidence regarding Roman military attire offers little support for the widespread Red Legion image. While fragments of dyed fabrics have been recovered from archaeological sites, the colors are generally muted, encompassing browns, grays, and possibly various earth tones. The intensely vibrant red we associate with Roman soldiers is far less common in the archaeological record. This suggests that the practical needs of military life, durability, camouflage, and ease of cleaning, likely dictated a preference for less flamboyant colors. The practicality of dyeing large quantities of fabric of vibrant red also needs to be considered. The process was both expensive and time-consuming. Additionally, the specific shades and patterns of Roman military clothing likely vary considerably depending on factors such as a legion's unit, its geographical location, and the era. The assumption of a uniform, standardized red tunic ignores this essential complexity. The idea of a single, overarching color for all Roman soldiers is, therefore, a simplification. The enduring myth of the red Roman soldier is a powerful testament to the influence of artistic conventions and the human tendency to accept visually compelling narratives without critical evaluation. While the imagery is undeniably striking, it's crucial to acknowledge the lack of substantive historical evidence supporting it. To truly understand the appearance of the Roman army, we must move beyond the captivating, yet ultimately inaccurate, image of a sea of red and delve into more complex reality revealed by archaeological and textual evidence. The reality, while perhaps less visually dramatic, is far richer and more historically accurate. The red Roman soldier is ultimately a product of artistic license, historical simplification, and the enduring power of a visually compelling, albeit inaccurate, myth. Artistic representations confirm the widespread use of red in Roman tunics. The image of the Roman legionary, clad in crimson, is deeply ingrained in our collective imagination. But is this image accurate? Does the archaeological record support this popular conception? The answer, as with so many historical questions, is more nuanced than a simple yes or no. The vibrant frescoes of Pompeii, miraculously preserved beneath volcanic ash, offer a glimpse into the daily lives of Roman citizens. They depict senators in togas of varied hues, from creamy whites and muted yellows to deep blues and even greens. Similarly, the intricate mosaics unearthed in Egypt and surprisingly well-preserved wall paintings at Duryropos, a Roman outpost on the Euphrates, display a stunning array of colors in Roman clothing. These depictions showcase a rich chromatic palette far removed from the monochromatic red often associated with Roman military attire. The question arises, why the discrepancy between popular imagination and the visual evidence? The archaeological record, while offering valuable insights, presents a complex picture. While some frescoes and mosaics do include garments with reddish tones, often a deep maroon or ochre rather than a bright crimson, the overwhelming evidence points towards a far greater diversity of colors in Roman clothing than commonly assumed. The prevailing notion of universally red military uniforms likely stems from a combination of factors. Later artistic representations, influenced by biases and limited color palettes, may have standardized a Roman soldier's attire into a single, easily recognizable shade. Furthermore, the natural degradation of dyes over millennia might have resulted in a skewed representation of original colors. The vibrant reds, once perhaps more prevalent, may have faded to less striking tones. Additionally, the relative cost and availability of different dyes could have influenced clothing color based on social class and the specific occasion. A wealthy senator might have afforded a luxurious purple, unavailable to a common soldier, who might have worn garments dyed with more readily available earth tones. The reality is significantly more multifaceted. The surviving artistic representations show Roman citizens, soldiers and civilians alike, adorning themselves in a wide range of colors, reflecting the diverse social structures and economic realities of the Roman world. The vibrant frescoes of Pompeii and the meticulously crafted mosaics of Egypt are not merely decorative. They are invaluable primary sources, challenging the oversimplified narratives and revealing the subtle complexities of Roman visual culture. The pervasive image of the crimson-clad legionary, though visually arresting, represents a simplification, a historical shorthand that obscures the vibrant tapestry of Roman fashion and the rich variety of colors worn by the people of the Roman Empire. Careful analysis of these ancient images forces us to refine our understanding of Roman life and challenge preconceived notions shaped by centuries of interpretation. The true colors of Rome, it seems, were far more varied than we once believed. The question of the Roman army's predominant color, so often depicted as a uniform crimson, remains a subject of intense scholarly debate. Do the limited physical remnants of their military equipment truly support this singular, vivid image? The answer, gleaned from painstaking archaeological investigation, proves far more nuanced and complex than initially assumed. The scarcity of surviving Roman military equipment presents a significant hurdle to definitive conclusions. While depictions in art and literature often portray legions clad in standardized red, the archaeological record reveals a far less uniform reality. Only a handful of relatively intact Roman shields have been unearthed across the vast expanse of the empire. Even more problematic is the highly variable state of preservation of these finds. The pigments used in their decoration, often subject to ravages of time and environmental factors, are frequently fragmented, faded, or entirely lost, leaving archaeologists to piece together fragments of a once vibrant visual history. This scarcity, coupled with the inherent limitations in interpreting the surviving color remnants, makes the reconstruction of the true chromatic landscape of the Roman army a considerable challenge. Furthermore, the geographical location of the finds plays a crucial role. Conditions affecting preservation vary dramatically across the empire, potentially skewing our understanding of prevalent color schemes. The few partially intact shields that have survived offer tantalizing glimpses into the diverse range of colors employed. Analysis of these fragments, utilizing advanced techniques like spectrographic analysis and microscopic examination of pigment residues, reveals a surprising array of hues. While some exhibit remnants consistent with reds and browns, others display traces of yellows, greens, and even blues. The designs themselves vary considerably, from simple geometric patterns to more elaborate depictions of mythological figures and military insignia. These variations strongly suggest that the color and design of the shield were not uniformly standardized across legions, cohorts, or even individual soldiers. Factors such as unit affiliation, geographical origin, and even personal preference likely played a significant role in determining the appearance of a soldier's equipment. The analysis extends beyond shields. The discovery of fragments of military textiles, including remnants of tunics and cloaks, further supports the notion of chromatic diversity. While the preservation of textile pigments presents even greater challenges than that of shield pigments, careful analysis, again employing advanced scientific methods, has revealed traces of dyes in various colors. These findings complement the evidence from the shields and bolster the argument against a uniform, empire-wide standardization of color. The archaeological evidence decisively challenges the simplistic notion of a uniformly red Roman army. The fragmentary but crucial physical remains, the few surviving shields and scant textile fragments, paint a far more intricate picture. They reveal a greater variety in colors and designs than previously believed, indicating a more dynamic and diverse visual reality. The colors used were likely influenced by a number of factors, from the availability of pigments and dyes to unit identity and individual choice. The picture emerging from these painstakingly analyzed artifacts is one of surprising chromatic complexity, underscoring the limitations of relying solely on artistic representations for reconstructing the historical reality of Roman military appearance. The Roman army was, in all likelihood, a visual tapestry woven from a far broader palette than traditional red-centric narratives suggest. The vibrant hues of ancient Rome often spring to mind when we imagine its grandeur: the gleaming gold of chariot fittings, the stark white of marble statues. But what are the clothes worn by its citizens? Do ancient texts explicitly describe the color of Roman tunics? The answer, as we shall see, is more nuanced than a simple yes or no. Our investigation into the sartorial choices of Roman citizens leads us to a fascinating textual puzzle. While numerous surviving texts detail Roman life, the precise description of clothing colors, especially concerning the common populace, is surprisingly scant. We do find mentions of red and white tunics in the writings of authors such as Martial Tacitus and the Historia Augusta, yet these mentions serve different purposes, and their interpretations require careful consideration. Martial, for example, in his epigrams, might casually reference a red tunic as a detail in a satirical poem, offering little insight into its broader societal significance. Tacitus, in his historical accounts, might mention a red garment worn by a specific individual on a particular occasion, often highlighting social status or a ceremonial context. The Historia Augusta, a collection of biographies of Roman emperors, likewise records instances of red clothing, often associating it with imperial power and authority. But these isolated instances don't provide a complete picture of the prevalence or everyday use of red dye in Roman clothing. Let us delve deeper into the textual evidence. Martial's witty observations, while colorful, lack the systematic approach of a fashion historian. He might describe a man's gaudy attire, including a crimson tunic, but this is primarily for comedic effect, not a factual statement on typical Roman dress. Similarly, Tacitus's accounts, while meticulously detailed in their political and military narratives, often only mention the color of clothing incidentally as a marker of social standing or ritual observance. A general's crimson toga, worn during a triumphal procession, signals a clear difference in status compared to a citizen's simple white tunic. This leads us to a crucial distinction. The occasional appearance of red in literary sources does not equate to widespread usage. The Historia Augusta, prone to embellishment and occasional historical inaccuracies, further complicates our analysis. Its descriptions of emperors in scarlet robes are likely intended to emphasize imperial majesty, a narrative device rather than a statistically accurate reflection of Roman fashion. The problem of interpreting ancient textual sources regarding color is further compounded by the limitations of language itself. Ancient writers often use descriptive terms that may not perfectly correspond to modern color classifications. Purpura, for instance, could refer to a range of hues from deep purple to scarlet, adding to the ambiguity. Therefore, while it is undeniably true that red dye existed and was used in Roman clothing, our textual analysis suggests that its prevalence was far from universal. Instead, the evidence points toward a limited, socially stratified application. Red tunics, togas, and other garments seem to have been reserved for specific occasions, primarily ceremonial and military, and associated with individuals of high social standing, particularly those within the ruling class. The common Roman citizen, in all likelihood, wore clothing in more muted colors, primarily white or shades of off-white, which were more affordable and readily available. Ultimately, The seemingly simple question of whether Romans wore red clothing leads us to a rich and complex exploration of ancient texts and their limitations, highlighting the challenges of reconstructing past societies based on surviving historical records. Was red a readily accessible color in ancient Rome, or was it a luxury reserved for the elite? The vibrant hues adorning frescoes, statues, and the garments of the wealthy might lead us to assume its ubiquity. Yet, a closer examination reveals a complex reality shaped by the inherent costs and availability of different pigments. The vibrant spectrum of reds utilized in Roman times ranged dramatically in price and accessibility. At one end lay relatively inexpensive options like ochre, derived from naturally occurring iron oxides found in soil, and dyes obtained from madder root, a plant whose cultivation was widespread across the empire. These provided earthy, muted reds, far removed from the dazzling brilliance found in certain elite contexts. At the other end, however, lay the truly luxurious Tyrian purple, a deep crimson dye famously extracted from the hypobranchial glands of murex snails. The sheer effort involved in producing Tyrian purple renders it almost unimaginable to the modern mind. Thousands of these mollusks, painstakingly gathered along the Mediterranean coast, were needed to yield even a small quantity of dye. The laborious process of crushing glands, extracting the viscous fluid, and then undergoing multiple complex steps of boiling, oxidation, and finishing rendered the final product astronomically expensive. It was a dye associated solely with emperors, senators, and the highest echelons of Roman society. Its use was a blatant display of wealth and power, a visual assertion of social standing. But the spectrum of red wasn't solely defined by Tyrian purple and ochre. Other reds, derived from Kermes insects or from the juice of certain berries, fell somewhere in between. Kermes, a scale insect parasitic on the Kermes oak, yielded a deep, rich crimson that, while not as costly as Tyrian purple, still demanded considerable labor and specialized knowledge for its production and refinement. Similarly, while certain berries could produce red dyes, their intensity and fastness were far less reliable than those obtained through more complex processes. The consistency of color, its resistance to fading in sunlight and washing, also heavily influenced its cost and value. This disparity in cost dramatically impacts our understanding of red's prevalence in Roman life. While the muted reds of ochre or madder root might have been employed in the everyday fabrics of the common populace, or even in the standardized equipment of legionaries, the deeper, richer crimsons were largely beyond their reach. The shimmering, intense reds adorning the garment of senators and the imperial court, a visual echo of their immense power and wealth, stand in stark contrast to more subdued tones likely worn by the average Roman citizen. The gleaming red of a centurion's armor, potentially obtained through a combination of expensive dyes and meticulous application, serve as a sharp symbol of rank and authority within the legions, further emphasizing the class divisions inherent within Roman society. Therefore, the seemingly ubiquitous red in Roman iconography requires a nuanced interpretation, accounting for the significant economic and social factors that determine access to different hues and shades. The bright, almost luminous red that we associate with Rome was, in many cases, a privilege, not a given. How did the attire of the Roman legionary change across the centuries? The answer reveals a fascinating evolution, reflecting not only advancements in military technology, but also the shifting political and social landscapes of the Roman world. The stark contrast between the early Republic and the height of the Empire starkly illustrates this metamorphosis. In the early Republic, the legionary's equipment was a patchwork reflecting his personal wealth and social standing. A wealthy citizen soldier might boast gleaming bronze armor, a finely crafted gladius, and a sturdy pilum, while a less affluent comrade might rely on more rudimentary, often self-provided, gear. This lack of standardization was a reflection of the army's own character, a citizen militia relying upon the individual initiative and resources of its members. The army was essentially a temporary aggregation of citizens, call to arms when necessary, and returning to civilian life afterward. The rise of the empire, however, witnessed a profound transformation. The professionalization of the Roman army demanded uniformity and standardization. While the initial shift was gradual, extending across centuries, the principle of equipping legions was state-supplied. Standardized gear became paramount. This wasn't merely a matter of efficiency. It ensured a level playing field, reducing inequalities and fostering a stronger sense of collective identity within the ranks. The iconic image of the Roman legionary, clad in segmentata armor, wielding a gladius and pilum, largely emerged during this period. The state became the primary provider, ensuring that every soldier, regardless of his background, received the same basic equipment. Yet, absolute uniformity in color and style was never fully achieved. While the standardization of equipment became the norm, the specific colors of tunics and cloaks still exhibited considerable variation. This was primarily dictated by practical considerations, the availability of dyes, the resources of the legion stationed in a particular region, and even the specific preferences of individual commanders. For instance, legions stationed in regions rich in purple dye might employ this luxurious color more prominently in their uniform, while those in more remote areas might rely on cheaper, more readily available earth tones. Furthermore, specific legionary cohorts might adopt particular distinguishing marks, creating a form of regimental identity within the larger structure of the Roman army. We see this reflected in historical accounts and even in archaeological discoveries, revealing a fascinating tapestry of variation even within the broader framework of standardized equipment. The transition from a citizen militia relying on personal resources to a highly standardized and professionalized imperial army thus represents a crucial evolution. It showcases the ever-shifting relationship between the Roman state, its citizens, and its military apparatus. The standardization of equipment, while a critical element of Roman military success, didn't erase the underlying realities of regional differences and the enduring complexities of Roman societal organization. The evidence suggests a continuous negotiation between state control and practical considerations, resulting in a system that combined uniformity with a subtle yet significant degree of flexibility. This nuance is key to understanding the true character of the Roman army throughout its long and storied history. How did films, video games, and historical recreations shape our modern conception of the Roman soldier? The image conjured in most minds, a legionary clad in crimson armor, a formidable figure striding across the battlefield, is remarkably consistent. Yet this seemingly immutable image is, in many respects, a product of popular culture, a carefully constructed myth that, while visually striking, obscures a more nuanced historical reality. The ubiquity of the Red Roman soldier is a testament to the power of Hollywood and the wider entertainment industry. From Cecil B. DeMille's epic spectacles to countless video games and even modern historical reenactments, the crimson hue has become the visual shorthand for Rome's legions. This seemingly innocuous stylistic choice has inadvertently solidified a powerful stereotype, one that profoundly impacts how the public perceives this pivotal civilization. The consistent use of red across diverse media, from subtly nuanced historical dramas to wildly fantastical action films, has imprinted this particular image onto the collective consciousness. The repeated visual reinforcement, regardless of historical accuracy, has cemented the red uniform as the definitive visual representation of the Roman soldier. This is not a mere stylistic quirk. It's a cultural phenomenon shaping our understanding of history. The visual impact of the red-clad Roman legionary is undeniable. Its dramatic power is self-evident, a potent symbol of power and aggression. However, this iconic image drastically simplifies a complex reality. Archaeological evidence, including the extant remnants of Roman military equipment and the writings of contemporary historians, offers a far more varied picture. The reality is that Roman legionaries wore a far broader spectrum of colors. Their tunics, for instance, were often a neutral, unbleached linen or wool, while their armor, made of bronze or iron, would have reflected the natural colors of the metal, exhibiting hues ranging from gray to dark brown, depending on wear and oxidation. Some specialized units may have employed distinctive colors for identification purposes, but widespread crimson was not a standard. The prevalence of red in popular portrayals likely stems from several factors. The dramatic vibrancy of red, its association with power and blood, and the potential for visual impact on screen all likely contributed to its adoption as a standard. Furthermore, the lack of readily available accurate color depictions in ancient Roman sources left artists and filmmakers free to interpret the visual representation of the legionaries, often leaning towards the most aesthetically striking option. The ease and affordability of using red dyes in film and costume design may also have played a role. This combination of artistic license, practical considerations, and the inherent dramatic appeal of red collectively resulted in the widespread adoption of this visually compelling but historically inaccurate trope. Therefore, while the image of the Red Roman soldier remains a powerful and enduring symbol, it's crucial to acknowledge its origins in popular culture and understand its divergence from the more nuanced historical reality. The enduring power this image serves as a compelling reminder of how readily popular culture can shape and sometimes distort our understanding of the past. We must strive to critically engage with these visual representations, actively seeking out more accurate and historically informed interpretations to develop a more complete and nuanced appreciation of the Roman army and its crucial role in shaping the ancient world.